You have a client in your office. The room is quiet, the lighting is soft, and there is no physical threat. The client knows they are safe, yet their body reacts as if they are in mortal danger. Their heart races, their breath is shallow, and their capacity to connect is gone. Traditional cognitive interventions attempt to address this through logic. You ask the client to reframe their thoughts or deploy a communication strategy, but the words bounce off. The client cannot think their way out of the panic. Talk therapy hits a ceiling because it assumes the conscious mind is in control of the physiological state. This split-screen model illustrates the struggle. On the left is the prefrontal cortex, the seat of cognitive intention. On the right is the autonomic nervous system, the subcortical network managing survival. In moments of perceived threat, the survival network operates milliseconds faster than conscious thought, and its signal entirely overrides the logic centers. This physiological override dictates behavior. A client cannot choose to relax or use an I statement during a trigger because the biological hardware required for that choice has been forcibly taken offline. Dr. Stephen Porges documented the precise architecture of this override in polyvagal theory. Polyvagal theory is a framework that organizes the autonomic nervous system into 3 hierarchical circuits based on their evolutionary origin. This framework provides the exact mechanism for how humans transition between states of survival and states of connection. Within relational nervous system science, polyvagal theory operates as the biological operating system, the literal wiring that the biosanctuary method interfaces with. Biological safety acts as the gatekeeper for all relational work. Until the nervous system stops scanning for threat, the most sophisticated communication techniques remain inaccessible, making state shifting the mandatory first step of any intervention. For decades, clinical training treated the nervous system as a simple switch. You were either in a sympathetic state of stress or a parasympathetic state of calm. The biology is more layered. This vertical ladder represents the phylogenetic hierarchy, 3 survival circuits competing for dominance. At the bottom is the ancient dorsal vagal circuit, producing immobilization and shutdown. The middle tier is the sympathetic chain, mobilizing the body for fight or flight. At the top is the ventral vagal circuit, creating biological safety for social engagement. The nervous system prioritizes the newest circuit. If ventral safety fails, it drops to the sympathetic tier. If fighting or fleeing fails, it collapses into dorsal numbness. This means a client's dysregulation is an organized biological descent. When a client loses their temper or goes numb, they are sliding down this exact evolutionary ladder. But what initiates this slide? What specific signal forces the nervous system to abandon connection and prepare for survival? This is neuroception, the subconscious precognitive scanning process. It evaluates data, bypasses conscious thought, and instantly initiates a survival state. You don't decide what your nervous system concludes. The scan constantly targets 3 areas: the external environment, other people's bodies and voices, and your internal visceral states. This explains how the nervous system generalizes threat across time. If an environment was once dangerous, the neuroceptive scan can become hypersensitized, running historical threat data as a present-tense survival computation. This is why the first step of the biosanctuary method is recognize. Clients learn to identify their physiological state, training their cognition to catch up to the neuroceptive verdict their body has already rendered. Viewed through this lens, clinical resistance is the body following a precise internal map. The client is not choosing to be difficult. Their biology is successfully executing a strategy it believes is necessary for survival. If threat is detected automatically, safety must be transmitted automatically. The top tier of the evolutionary ladder, ventral vagal safety, is supported by a physical infrastructure. This is the social engagement system, integrating the myelinated vagus with muscles in the head and neck. When active, upper facial muscles engage, creating warmth, and eyelids soften. The middle ear muscles tighten to prioritize human voices, and the larynx produces melodic, regulated prosody. Your face and your voice are direct biological inputs into your client's neuroception. You communicate safety through the social engagement system before you ever use a clinical technique. This creates the operational rule of RNS science. Co-regulation precedes self-regulation. Co-regulation is the biological process by which one regulated nervous system calms another through these specific signals. Clinical presence is a biological intervention. A dysregulated practitioner broadcasting threat cues cannot transmit safety. Therefore, the therapist's own biological regulation is the first required tool in the methodology. When two dysregulated nervous systems interact, individual threat responses collide, creating a predictable relational spiral. In the seeker state, a loss of connection triggers sympathetic mobilization. Their behavioral signature is hyperarousal, speaking loudly, asking rapid questions, and pursuing the partner to resolve the threat. In the bunker state, relational intensity triggers dorsal vagal activation. Their signature is hypoarousal, physical stillness, emotional flatness, and withdrawal to conserve energy. In this feedback loop, the seeker's sympathetic pursuit strikes the bunker's neuroception as an acute threat, forcing them further into shutdown. The loop reverses when the bunker's flatline dorsal shutdown registers as an abandonment threat, escalating the seeker's panic. Both use evolutionarily correct survival strategies, but one survival mechanism triggers the other's threat code. While this loop runs, both social engagement systems are offline. The prefrontal cortex is bypassed. Communication tools like I statements fail because the hardware required to process those concepts is powered down. The dysregulation spiral is a polyvagal collision. It requires a biological, state-shifting intervention to halt the descent before verbal communication can be effective. To resolve this, the clinician must guide the nervous system toward a specific biological target. Dr. Porges identified two entirely different types of dorsal vagal activation. Combine dorsal immobilization with threat, and the overlap is pathological freeze, the collapsed trauma response. Replace threat with ventral safety, and you achieve immobilization without fear. The result is profound stillness. The body rests because it feels secure. The hypno-breath fusion protocol directly engineers this state. By extending the exhale, it increases parasympathetic tone and establishes biological safety, allowing access to dorsal stillness without triggering a trauma response. This intersection of ventral safety and dorsal stillness is the neurological address of the inner sanctuary, a physiological state that clients learn to find on command. Systematically rebuilding the biological capacity for stillness allows the nervous system to remain vulnerable without triggering a survival response, creating the necessary conditions for relational health.